Hello everyone and welcome back to another Babbling review show, and Mike is back on the channel. The feel good factor is back. 3-1 win against Brighton. The curse is broken. We're top of the league. We've potentially got Kudus coming in tomorrow. Lads, what's going on, man? It's seems a bit weird.
Mate, I think you've summed up everything we need to talk about. Should we just end it now?
Yeah. Honestly.
It's buy your lottery tickets time, isn't it? It's scenes for West Ham fans.
I think that sums it up, lads.
Yeah, Josh has put it well. The curse is over. I think everyone's just relieved right now. I mean, the fact that Brighton are an incredible team as well just makes it even better, and that it's taken us for them to get into Europe for us to then beat them. We couldn't beat them when they were pretty much rubbish. It took us until the biggest challenge to do it, but we did do it. 3-1 win, brilliant performance, clinical in moments when we needed to be. So let's kind of go back to the start of the evening when the lineups were announced, because there was a couple of changes. Alvarez coming straight into the team. Benrahma dropped to the bench, and Paqueta went out wide, and obviously Aged had to go out and Ogbonna came in. So when the lineup came out, lads, how were you feeling about it? Because people were maybe saying it might be a diamond. Some people said it might be a back five, but actually it was kind of a 4-1-4-1, and Paqueta played out on the left. Yeah, and that was the topic of our WhatsApp group. So what were you guys thinking at the time? Were you happy with the lineup?
Yeah, I thought it was fine. I thought it'd be a diamond, just because of obviously been talking about wanting to try something different, wanted Bowen up top, and then you look at those players and you just go, well, logically, if they're all going to go into midfield, a diamond, based on his Bowen comments, you kind of think, okay, maybe he's going to do that. But we sat with a 5 in midfield. Alvarez sitting in front, screening. I think is what we needed, right? We needed that resilience. We needed to kind of try and restrict them centrally, and I think that's absolutely what he did in those early stages.
I mean, look at Hammer's BFX. Watching from Bangkok, it's 2 a.m. here, and I'm nowhere near ready for bed. Well, hopefully we can provide you some late night entertainment. But yeah, I'm sure you're on adrenaline right now, as are we. So yeah, the lineups came out. Sloth, how were you feeling? Were you confident? Were you kind of expecting it to be a match where maybe we weren't going to have as much possession? But did you think that, based on the Chelsea performance, that maybe that clinical edge was back for us?
I think it was one where I looked at it and I thought we are really putting faith in the engines of the side. We Souček, who obviously the change was made. But I think while he was on, he looked pretty composed, and he was aerially dominant. And I think the manager would have trusted them to just say, look, you've got a bit of freedom today, but Alvarez is going to be in behind you. However, what we're going to try and do is we know we're going to be able to defend. We know we can throw ourselves on at the ball and defend for our lives. However, you've got to keep the ball when you get it, and you've got to try and really catch them on the break. I think we did that really well today. I think Antonio
as well in his post-match conference said, like, the tactic was, we knew Brighton wanted us to come out effectively, so he left those spaces where they like to play in the pocket. So we said, okay, we're going to sit in as we normally do, and we're going to hit you on the break, kind of go back to the old-fashioned days of kick it long and chase.
We did, right? So it's like Brighton deliberately trying to make you engage by essentially standing on the ball, stopping play, and trying to get you engaged. We just, even other games, we have engaged them in little bits, and it's created these pockets. And this time we just went, not going to engage you until you hit the ball to the flank. We are not going to engage, and it made it so difficult for them because all of a sudden they didn't have a team that literally was just passive, but for the right reasons. We often moan about us being passive, but it was passive for the right reasons, because it was about, well, we're not coming out of our shape for love nor money. We're literally going to stay in this really kind of low block. We're going to stay compact, and you are just going to have to hit Matoma. You're going to have to hit Solly March on the wings. Although March, I'm hoping Emmy has taken him out of his pocket and given him back to Brighton as he gets on the coach home. But it was just one of those games where we literally just said, we ain't engaging at all, and try and break us down. It was,
I think as well in the last,
and scary, all in the same measure.
The last few times we played them as well, we've mentioned it before about just how important having a central defensive mid, that anchor, has been. And Alvarez was was fantastic today. You know, I can't stop swooning about him at the moment in terms of his performances, because he's what I love to see in a central defensive mid. He just throws himself into everything. He just seems to stretch out a limb and win the ball. And if he wins a card, he tends to do it, you know, necessarily. Like he knows it's a necessity to win or give away a foul. And I mentioned about, you know, bringing Souček in and whether it would be a diamond or whatever. And we kind of talked about that, but it gives us so much more freedom in terms of how the centre mids play, if they want to go slightly out wider. And we saw that when Ben Rama came on, but just having someone who would allow, you know, like last season when Souček got exposed and was being constantly sort of ridiculed and picked at, it was because we didn't have that anchor. We didn't have someone who was willing to sit back, and it created all that space behind us. He just mopped everything up today.
It's the amount of things that he just got his toe on the end of. You know, obviously, bar the one where he absolutely lunged at Welbeck, which I promptly followed by that's his customary yellow card.
Yeah,
but you know, he was, his toe was on everything, and even in that moment where there's that slight miscommunication between him and Areola, the calmness to not only turn one defender in the box, then to turn another. You know, I think if we were all nuts to have that as Souček in that moment, our hearts would have firmly been in our mouths thinking he's going to Cruyff himself to the floor and the ball's going to roll to the Brighton player. But yeah, and also Souček again. What is it with that guy? Yet another just...
Can't catch a break, can he?
Wiped out again. It just seems every season he's just gonna get absolutely smashed. But it probably, in a weird way, and worked out better for us because it brought on Benny, which meant we had, especially in the later stages, a player who was actually up to speed.
Yeah,
and helping us break out at the end when Antonio was dropping deep to collect and then trying to play it into that channel because they pushed so high up.
Yeah, it was an interesting game, and especially from the start, if we kind of go back to the early stages where we knew what we were going to do. We were going to give Brighton possession of the ball, and we were going to hit them on the break. And there was a couple of moments where Antonio was doing really well, coming out to this left-hand side, beating his defender. Not sure how they didn't get any yellow cards for it, but they, you know, that's Antonio, I'm afraid. And
though, wasn't it? Like,
yeah, it's rare that Antonio gets decisions like that. So yeah, it was interesting, but we actually managed to get ahead, and it came from that kind of low block we were playing, that kind of patience to just wait for their mistake. And to be fair to Ward-Prowse, he started and finished a move, you know, intercepting the ball as it came through. He then plays a really nice ball over the top to Antonio for him to say, you know, go on, chase it. Let's go and get in behind them. Antonio puts the pressure on, obviously wins the ball back. And yeah, Ward-Prowse is there sprinting on you know, kind of the edge of it, not just kind of watching and admiring his pass, and gets in the box and, you know, is in that position to score. And he scuffed the first one a little bit, but it kind of came back to him nicely, and he got his reward for what he did. So yeah, I mean, we've been a little bit critical of the Ward-Prowse signing just because of the other alternatives we wanted. But he's made a great start.
It was a good reason. We were talking about the age, we were talking about the money of the and wages. So there was reasons behind it. It wasn't just a blanket.
But he's probably made one of the best starts he could have done, really, couldn't he?
Oh, no, he's had a brilliant start. Like, there's no two ways about it. He started phenomenally well, which is great. Because me and Slough said that. Me and Slough were critical. But we also said we want to see him do well from the start, and he has. So, you know, got to applaud that. He's been brilliant in the last two games. 2 assists.
I think as well, part of the problem that I think Mike and I had as well was, you know, we just mentioned about that the system we played last season and how we got exposed at times by having Souček and Rice in the centre of the park. And I think that was the case with Southampton last season. You know, they had Lavia and Ward-Prowse there, but quite often their midfield would get cut apart, and they conceded so many goals through that middle area where either one of them gave the ball away or they'd make a challenge and they couldn't get back in time. And someone like Alvarez just really alleviates that. He really wipes that out. And yeah, I mean, if he continues this rate up, he's going to pay that £30 million back in no issue. And I have no problems holding my hands up and saying, you know, what a couple of performances it's been, and long may it continue as well.
Yeah, definitely. I think as well with the Alvarez signing and Ward-Prowse, it's made it kind of a little bit of a segue into allowing that move, because there were times where it was going to be Ward-Prowse and, you know, someone like McTominay. That's when we were starting to maybe question the deal. But, you know, he's come in, Alvarez as well. We've got potentially Kudus coming in. It should be announced tomorrow, maybe the next day.
Let's not even say potentially. It's happening. It's going to happen.
I'm never saying it, Mike, until it's done.
Sod it. I don't care. I'm doing it. It's signed tonight, and it'll be announced tomorrow. Sod it. We've just done the curse, mate. Anything's possible.
Yeah, true.
We're putting a bid for Neymar. Don't know Mbappe tomorrow, and we'll sign him as well.
I mean, we've still got a few days left, so who knows what's going to come out. But yeah, I mean, we took the lead, and you know, when you go away to a team where you're going to be trying to be resilient, you're trying to be hard to beat. That's exactly what you need to do, and I think that's where maybe David Moyes will come under criticism, and has done in the past couple of seasons when we go away to these teams, because if we don't take the lead, it becomes a very hard watch. And, you know, I've seen in the comments here, I think, let me just grab it up. Yeah, Mark said here, you know, if anyone thinks that well played us, you're off your rocker. It was like watching a championship team, hoping to hit them on the break. Horrible to watch. I understand the point of that, but I think you have to look at it from a different perspective. You know, we got the lead, and what we did was nullified Brighton's strengths rather than, you know, trying to play out. You know, we could have gone there and tried to play how we did last season and get spanked 4-0. Moyes changed that a little bit. He said, no, we're just going to sit off completely, not try and press high up the pitch, and we're going to pick you off with the gaps you leave. So actually, I don't think it was what you're thinking of, Mark. I know it's tough to watch at times, because it is. I completely agree. But that second half was not tough to watch for me at all. You know, sometimes you have to get through the first half, and I thought second half we could have scored 4 goals. I thought we were absolutely excellent. They obviously had a couple of chances as well, as they will, but I don't agree. I don't agree that it was that tough to watch. I think in moments it was, but overall it was a pretty good game. I don't know. Do you guys disagree or agree with that?
I'd go with Mark to a point. Like, it was a tough watch. It wasn't enjoyable, but it's the type of football that we've said in the past is when you're not winning, or you don't win, it's very hard to justify those ways of playing, because it is arguably anti-football. You can argue, because when you have that little possession and you defend so much, and it is very difficult then to say, oh, well, it's entertaining. However, all 3 of our goals come from open play. That's something that has to be recognised. Granted, one was a mistake, but again, that was a mistake because Antonio enforced it.
Yeah. We forced it.
You know, Bowen's finish and the pass from Benny, even the pass from, so you can go back to the pass from Antonio to Benny, and then Benny's presence and sense of mind to slow down and play that over was absolutely sublime. Like that little passage, phenomenal bit.
Well, let's actually talk about that, because, you know, we went into the lead half time with the 1-0 lead. We came out, and it was kind of similar pattern. We were maybe being a little bit complacent, but then we started to find the gaps. And, you know, that's where we saw, I think just before that second goal, Benrahma did an excellent run, took it past about 3 players, and he was probably knackered, came back into the fold and was kind of left free from that subsequent sequence. And then Antonio, like you mentioned, did really well in the middle of the pitch, played a beautiful kind of Trivela pass out to Benrahma, who was just waiting. He was patient, and they analysed it after the game. Bowen ran 82 yards for that goal. He was in our box. He absolutely sprinted head down and produced an unbelievable touch. Unbelievable, was pushed off balance and still slid it home. I mean, that is the Bowen that I can get behind. That is the Bowen I absolutely love, because he can do that in a moment.
Well, that was the Bowen 2 years ago, right? That was the year where he was on fire. That was the stuff he was doing. He was just, when he was taking a touch of the ball, it was sticking to his foot. Like that control, the fact that it's actually on the bounce and the way he controls at the outside of his boot was, I think you can't understate genuinely how hard technically that was for him to do that. And then another little touch just to push it out, and then he just flicks it the outside of his foot. And even he said he felt that he gave it a little bit too much, like, let's just say fade on it. Yeah. But it was everything about that was what you need when you're not in a game, when you're talking about being clinical in those important moments and making those correct decisions. You know, we were, like, considering how much concentration we had to do defensively, it's very easy then to switch off when you get the ball, because you're knackered. Like, you get mentally drained, and all of a sudden you then got to switch your mindset to, you know, controlling the ball, moving the ball, making the right decisions. And that second goal is as good as any goal that we've scored probably under Moyes, in all honesty, in my opinion.
Well, I think as well that someone who deserves a really big shout out is Areola. I think he made his first sort of excellent save of the game. Right, what in the first few minutes of that second half, I think he made a save from the corner.
Ferguson's head, yeah.
Clarkson's head. Clarkson? Just for some
different
reason,
different show.
But yeah, he from the header, he makes a brilliant save down in the corner, and I think that sort of woke everyone up. It kicked everyone into action, and you know, I'm going to risk saying it. I don't think Fabianski makes a number of those saves Areola made. He doesn't today.
I think there's at least one
quick. His hand, the strength of his hands as well. Like there's one where it hits him, but he pushes it over. And to get up so quickly, I thought he was brilliant, and that's what sort of woke us up and led to that second goal almost. And when you're a defender and you see your keeper make a save like that, the confidence it gives you is unrivaled. I think again we can wax lyrical about the fantastic touch of Bowen and that ball, you know, to hit that at the pace and to just judge it as well as Benrahma did, to know when to cut back and when to play it. And I think it was fantastic. Probably it was my favourite goal I've seen us score in a while, bar the cup final.
No, I would agree. It was it's something Benrahma comes under a lot of criticism for, and I think rightly so, because there's times where he isn't, you know, productive in that final third moment. But it was a great pass. It was an absolutely perfect pass because it had to be perfect because Bowen was running at such a high speed, and then he had to kind of slow down in the process. So, yeah, we got the second goal. 58th minute, and then 5 minutes later, I think we were all in a bit cuckoo land when we went 3-0 up. Was the best way to describe it. I think, a nice ball out. I think it was Areola from a goal kick, maybe. Antonio kind of disguised it. Bowen just plucked it out of thin air with a beautiful touch and played the ball through to Antonio, who kind of shimmied one way, took on the defender the other way. And, almost a carbon copy of the Chelsea goal. The way he struck it, just thought, you know what, fuck it, I'm just going to hit it hard and low across the goalie. And it worked. It was a brilliant finish, 3-0.
It was like the Chelsea finish, wasn't it? It was literally that. Was like having a little look around going, not much else on. I'm just gonna lever it. But that's when he's so much better. When he just, a bit like, you know, the old days of Colton Cole. Just acting on instinct, not on the fact that you've got time. It's like when he had time was when he took it on his chest, and then he just, I don't know really what he needed. He probably could have scuffed that and scored it. It just needed a delicate little touch, and it's tried to lift it and hits the crossbar. Whereas this one, it just levers it and it just arrows into the bottom corner. Did the same against Chelsea. It's just, he's one of those players that he needs to finish instinctively or needs to do something instinctively rather than think it through. When he thinks it through, I think he overcomplicates himself. It's like, if you go back to what I think it was Daniel Sturridge was talking about it before, that when you, as a striker, go through, you need to have set finishes. You know that when you're in this position, you take a moment, you compose yourself, and then you take a set finish. I don't think Antonio is one of those types. I don't think he can.
I mean, we saw it, Mike, literally about 5-10 minutes after he scored. He said it in his post-match. He felt he should have got 2 goals. And that's where he needs to be better, when he has that little bit of time to kind of think, okay, I'm in through one-on-one. What do I do? Rather than in that moment where it's an instinct. So, I completely agree. And what I will say about Antonio today is the system does not work without him. That is why I think he's so important. And I think it's why when we recruit a striker to come in to replace him, it has to be to that mold, because otherwise it just won't work, which is why it's kind of difficult to see the difference of strikers being linked. But
and that's why me and Slav cry when we see Boniface getting his first goal for Bayer Leverkusen today. It's just, that's the Antonio player there.
I mean, Ballon d'Or's in 2016 Leicester vibes. Moyes boys going to shout us our way to Champions League. I mean, I'll one bet you it's more like 2021 Moyes, 2022 West Ham Moyes. You know, it really had that counter-attack feel today. Bringing Kudus into that attack. Do we even need someone like Jesse Lingard? I would probably say no. Maybe Kudus could work off of Antonio and kind of be that key. I don't know. We'll see how it works out. But it's a really interesting one. What's going to happen? Dozy Dog, why don't any of you have a beer in your hands? Shameful from all of us three, to be fair. It's a good point.
I've got a newborn upstairs that I'm going to need to look after in a minute.
Yeah, you've got an excuse.
Newborn and beer together.
Yeah.
I haven't got an excuse. So I'm a lush. That's it.
Yeah.
I'll be sat here going, then another thing. Yeah, right, and you can shove it.
We just got monetized on YouTube. We don't want to get demonetized. That's why we're not drinking. But yeah, it was really good. We went 3-0 up. Could have been 4, could have been 5, and then we started to get a little bit complacent. Alvarez, about 2 minutes before the goal, went down with what looked to be cramp. He was kind of signaling that he was going to come off. And then, literally, I think 30 seconds a minute after that incident, Brighton got their goal where Gross kind of came inside on his left, cut back onto his right, and Alvarez, it was a tired, lazy kind of try and block, and he kind of sold him the other way, and then he shot across goal through the legs of Ward-Prowse. So were we getting nervy at that point, lads? Because I wasn't. I put it in the group chat. I weren't too great at that point, just considering of what. Yeah,
I was chatting to my dad.
Goes, I'm fine. I'm fine.
My dad called me and he was like, this is brilliant. And he went, but we have lost 4-3 to Wimbledon before, so and I was like, why would you say that? I was literally like, oh God, what have you done? But no, I think again, I just had that confidence that after seeing some of the saves that Areola was making, but also we've spoken so often about like how the fine lines between winning or getting the foot on the end of things, and players were just throwing themselves at things, but they weren't doing it like headless chickens. They were doing it when they knew that this was the last chance or this was the right moment to do it. And it was really fantastic to see. I mean, Brighton were embarrassing today in terms of their play acting. Matoma, I thought, was again, he would have gone down if a slight gust of wind had gone over his laces. It was quite cringeworthy. But one of the things that I wanted to mention as well is just how nice is it to see a bit of bastardry on the pitch, a bit of the dark arts, and just players muscling in, but also getting their body across so they know they take the man out and they know that they leave a little bit on someone. I think Milner did it, and I don't know how he wasn't booked in the first half.
He did it on Emerson, didn't he?
Yeah, and we sort of started to do that more. Paqueta's been great at it over the past season, and he rolls about a bit, and while it's kind of cringeworthy, it's what every single side does. We've not done it for too long. It's not nice to see, but when your own player does it, especially when your opposition is doing it time after time, it's something to cheer and get behind, because we've been too nice for too long. And just the amount of times that we were sitting back and basically saying to Brighton, we're not going to beat you at your own game, but we know that we can't compete with you in terms of moving it quickly. It's not been coached into us, but try and beat us. Try and beat the 6 men that we've got back behind, and if you can do that, you deserve a goal.
Yeah, I agree. I think the importance of what Alvarez brought to that team today was it's if people go back and analyze the match, it will be very clear to see that having Alvarez in there is a massive difference. And I think with what we saw with Brighton, they didn't have that type of player, and it's why they were kind of so susceptible to that counter attack, because their Casado's gone now. They had Gilmore in there, who's very good on the ball, very good keeping it moving and stuff, but he's not really an anchor. He's not that kind of Alvarez type player who's going to break up play if it comes back out. And I think it was kind of easy for us to walk through the midfield once we'd actually got the ball back, especially in the second half. There was a lot of space in the middle, and I just think it worked perfectly for us. And obviously Areola towards the end making a couple of world-class saves to keep us at 3-1, and that was it, lads. We got the win. We moved to top of the league before City play tomorrow, so we'll enjoy it. And 7 points from these last 3 games. Did we expect that at all? I mean, no. How are you guys feeling?
I think there's still a lot of work to be done. You look at the team. I know some people say you don't need another midfielder. For me, we do need another midfielder. I would still be pushing for Fofana. I don't think we yet have a player who can run from deep. I think that's the thing that is hugely missing from our midfield. And like the rest of them, he is incredibly industrious. I think what's been good about our recruitment so far is that these are players that can operate 100% within the Moyes pragmatic approach of sitting in, digging in and working hard and all of that. Good on kind of in transition and counters. However, should they get the chance to be on the ball a bit more, they're also players that are far more efficient. So I think that's it. The recruitment's been far better, and I think that probably need a fullback. We're probably going to lose Johnson, so we are going to need another fullback. We probably, I 100% think we need another centre midfielder. We definitely need a striker. However, once we sign Kudus, and then probably Yen, or En-Nesyri rather than Yen, sign En-Nesyri, we are at our squad limit. So then we are looking at selling players. So it's what's going to be interesting is to see if there's any Saudi interest in a couple of players, because that could massively fund the rest of our window. I wouldn't be surprised if we saw maybe 4 or 5 players come in between now and the end, with players going and players coming in. It wouldn't surprise me, because let's be honest, at the moment, we very much could go this window to completely revolutionise our team and probably only have to spend about £10 million.
Yeah.
What a mad thought that we
What
can
did
get
you-
all the
yeah.
players not to spend anything.
Just touching on that, what did you guys make of, I don't know if you heard it from your TVs, the Declan Rice chants, are you watching Declan Rice?
Yeah.
Do you think there is an element of truth to sometimes you lose your best player, sometimes you do, which is in our case is what happened, but we're kind of strengthened from it. You look at the players we've brought in. We've brought in Alvarez, Ward-Prowse, who else we brought in?
Ward-Prowse, Alvarez,
Kudus, sorry. Yeah, Kudus is about to be the first. So those three players for kind of under 100 mil roughly. There's an argument that the squad's got better. Do you kind of agree with that
No, I don't think
statement?
there's an argument for it. It's truth. The squad is better. The midfield is better by doing what we've done. And me and Sloth for the last 18 months have been adamant and forcibly saying Rice going isn't a problem. And whilst he is our best player, it doesn't mean that all of a sudden as a team we're going to get worse. In fact, it's probably exciting and actually means that other players have to step up. And that's what we've probably seen is players have now not looked to we'll just give it to Deckers because Deckers will get us out of this problem. Other players are trying to now find their own solutions. And that's sometimes what selling a big player does. It means that other players start going, well, we need to find solutions ourselves. And then they start to step up. And we brought in players on it as well.
I think what else has gone under the radar is Zuma captain this year. Zuma has been captain for the Premier League these last 3 games. And he seems like the perfect captain. It's just that we just can't rely on him to be fit all the time. But having your kind of centre-back as captain, I like that. I like that in my team because he's going to organise. He can see kind of everything other than obviously the goalkeeper. And, I think at times with Declan Rice last season, he maybe felt the responsibility was on himself, being captain and just being that guy and that to try and lift us out of it. So I agree. I think this could actually turn out to be a better thing for us. Obviously, we've invested 100 mil into the squad. And one last shout out to Tim Steiden. Wow, what a man he is. How are you guys feeling about him so far?
I'm just waiting for those private jet pics.
Yeah, exactly.
Sounds a bit weird when you say that.
If we haven't got,
it's like the West Ham equivalent of show me nudes, isn't it?
Get Tim's private pics. Come on.
show me Timmy on a private jet. Ooh, it's just that's what it is now, isn't it? It's like as any West Ham fan, it's like don't show me nudes, show me Timmy on a plane with a player. I'm done for the evening.
That's all we need.
Yeah. Oh, he's probably thinking about other girls. It's Tim. Yeah, like
exactly. Just need to see Timmy with a glass of champagne and the player on his arm. Oh, Timmy.
But jokes aside, lads, he has been. We said it's a massive thing for us to bring him to the club, and there was a lot of talk about him walking. There was a lot of talk about it not working. It seems like they're finally kind of on that same page. And, if Kudus gets over the line, which it should be, we've made some really good signings this summer.
Yeah. But let's be honest, right? It's possibly a leap, but the attitude change, you could arguably say, and the change in narrative as well from the press, happened directly after the Bayer Leverkusen game, where it was literally Tim's team versus Moyes' team, and for lack of a better term, Moyes' team was embarrassed. They were shown up to look like a bunch of boys playing against men. So that probably was a bit of a hello Jesus moment, because it was, if you allow me to build you something, I can. And that's what I can build you. I built this for that manager. I can do the same for you if you allow me to do it. And, Alvarez is clearly a player that is a Moyes player. Obviously, Ward-Prowse was 100% his. Fofana could be another one of those if he's allowed to bring him in.
Yeah.
Mavropanos, again, lightning quick, but again, proper, essentially Moyes player.
He's a West Ham player, you'd say.
Yeah, Kudus is another one. Alvarez is the epitome of a West Ham player, let's be honest. He's a little bit nuts.
We've already seen that in one game.
Yeah, exactly. He's the epitome of West Ham players. So I think Timmy's done a great job. And I think the thing that makes me feel confident is that there seems to be clearly that if a player goes, it isn't a problem. There's a player ready. And that's why I genuinely, if we lost 5 players between now and the end of the end of the window, even 6 or 7, I actually wouldn't be worried, because I am 100% positive he's at least got 2 or 3 players already lined up if one of those players goes, and knows exactly who he wants. And this could be the time, and I know it's horrible to see players come and go, like I might see Fornals, potentially even Ben Rama, Cornet. I wouldn't even be surprised if Souček went and, we signed a contract to keep his value. He could even go if a value came, say, from Saudi Arabia. So you kind of look and go, maybe now is the time, maybe to bite the bullet and sell some of these players, because then we can go and invest in the next generation and actually bring our age group down hugely. I think it's actually now about 27 is our average age at the moment. So we're not the oldest anymore.
I mean, today I think our average squad was 29, so it was pretty old.
I think it was 28 point something at the start of the season, and now it's like 27. And if you look at maybe some of the targets we've been talking about, Hincapié and etc., our squad limit, our squad age, probably about 26, something like that, when you factor it all in, because we've got a couple of old boys, didn't we, like Fabianski and stuff. So
today at the back.
Yeah, exactly. So they bring up the average age, but what's been positive is that we've bringing in these younger lads. I say the younger lads are 25 years old, for God's sake. They're not like lads; they're grown men. But we're bringing in these players that are at that age where they're coming into their peak. It's absolutely spot on what we should be doing, and a couple of younger players coming in as well. Yeah, and I just think that Steiten he's ready for what's to come. And Moyes has even said, isn't he, that there is going to be. Basically, he's alluded to there's going to be deals right up until the end of the transfer window, which is something that is amazing as well.
I think some of the issues as well are just going to be getting the homegrown numbers sorted, potentially looking to shift a few. I mean, if Johnson's unhappy, like we've heard the rumours about, I think just offer him to Southampton, give them a bit of money for whether it's Carl Walker-Peters or whether it's someone like Bellico Chap, just get someone in, and you can counteract the. I know Carl Walker-Peters is older than Johnson, but it's still one of those sort of apples and oranges situation. It's a homegrown player coming in.
Yeah, he's 26, so it's still a decent age. It's not like over the top.
I mean, it does look like we're moving in the right direction under Tim Steidten, but. One thing I want to point out today is Ogbonna. What did you guys make of that performance? Because he's come in, Aged got the red card last week. He's come in today in a tricky game, and I thought Zuma and Ogbonna, especially in our box today, were very, very good. They were clearing everything in there.
I think, to be honest, it was a bit of an easy game for our centre backs. I think they just kind of had to just sit in their position and nod things away. Obviously, they made a couple of good kind of tackles and stuff, but. It's probably the easiest game I've seen our centre-backs have. There wasn't too much of them running into the channels because they were constantly covered. I think, again, we've talked about it so much already, but the screen of Alvarez, the midfield worked incredibly hard. Our fullbacks were actually absolutely on it today. I've never felt any concern.
And Kufau had a really good game defensively.
Yeah. Emi and Sufal were brilliant. So I think our centre-backs probably have one of the easiest games they've had in a very long time.
Yeah.
But then they were great, I think, for me. And here's an important one for you guys. Like, hold on, sorry, hang on. But that's a very good point. Moyes does take credit for the wins this season. He picks the tactics in the teams, but who takes credit for the wins taken into account the last 18 months? Let's face it, Moyes takes, as Eamon says, takes credit because he picked the team, put the players on the pitch, picked the tactics. We won. If we lose, he gets, pulled over hot coals and said that he's not used the players correctly. So rightly, when we win, he needs to be credited. But also you've got to credit the fact that Stuyton's gone out and got these players and brought them in. And they're obviously the right players. So it's been a good conversation between everyone within that committee to get players that fit us stylistically, mentally, and just fit the kind of ethos of the club. So it's a collective win, but Moyes takes credit for we'll take credit for the result, and rightly, but it's a collective win, and it's also a collective loss when we do lose and we do play badly because there's some lack of cohesion in there if it's not getting results.
I think when it comes to performance, it's Moyes at the end of the day. He's the one that sets out the team. He's the one that's, picking the players, regardless of who's recruited. Obviously, there's an element of Tim Steidten effect. If he's bringing in certain players, they're going to obviously play for Moyes' team. But, like you said there, if we win, it's Moyes. If we lose, it's Moyes. And that's how it should be. It's why Moyes gained massive, massive appreciation and respect for us when he got a 6th and 7th. And it's why we were very critical of him last season when we lost 20 games in the Premier League. So you have to take it that way. That's the life of a manager. That's the life of any industry you're in, to be honest. If it's your responsibility, you have to take it on the chin. And, what we'll say now is today worked absolutely perfect for Moyes. He got it spot on. He frustrated Brighton perfectly. And we were clinical in the moments where we needed to be. So for me,
if that result today was flipped and we played the way we did, our perception on the tactics and the way we play will be entirely different. It'll be
because it didn't
hard.
work. Yeah.
We would have said, well, the players worked hard, but ultimately the tactics and the formation failed them. It just shows how much a win can change your perspective because when you're winning, it's a tactic that you can't fault because you are.
I think with Moyes a lot last season as well. What we didn't do is create enough chances. Like today, I think we don't like looking at XG too much, but it was nearly 3 goals. I mean, if we'd have come out of that game today and scored 1 goal, but created the same chances and the same moments, I don't think we would have been as frustrated at Moyes' performance. I really don't. I really don't think we would be that frustrated. I think it would be more that, okay, we produced some really good moments here. We probably should have scored X amount of goals. It wasn't to be, and we go again. But it's when we're not producing anything and we're playing that way. That's when the criticism comes in. Sloth, how do you kind of feel about it?
Yeah, I think we've spoken about how Moyes potentially looks at moments to win matches. And I think today we just took our chances. We're talking about chances that we missed and how we could have had 2 more goals. Or
we missed one in the first 5 minutes with Bacchetta, didn't we? Well, that was a really good chance as well.
So it could have potentially been 5. And you're sitting, we're sitting here saying the XG was 2.8, was it?
Something like that, yeah.
And we've scored 3 goals, so we've slightly overperformed on our XG, but we could have scored more. And I think, as opposed to where, normally when we sit back and soak up pressure, we just do so in a way that we don't create those chances as much. We give the ball away and we're sitting back and we're camping in our own half. So many times we hit them on the break and we would beat a man and open up so much space for ourselves. We created those chances, and that's what was lacking in particular last season. And, we spoke about players coming in. If we can get a few more sort of athletic, pacey players in, we will cause teams absolute nightmares playing like that. Kudus coming in is going to be another one. And he's a real athletic, quick and powerful unit who can come in and add yet more problems for those defenders.
En-Nesyri is another. Is that if you're starting with Antonio, bringing in En-Nesyri doesn't look like he's a battler, but I know a lot of our fans also kind of were really negative about him in the Sevilla game because of the way he kept falling over. But all I saw in that game was a player who was brilliant at soaking up pressure for his team, winning fouls, consecutively. And that's what you want. You want to have a player that, if he's not going to come on to score the goal and he's coming on to help you close out the game, and we want a player who's clever and arguably cynical enough to go, I'm going to take the fall here. And I think that's the problem with Antonio. Because of his size and his build and his physique, he often doesn't get the fouls that he legitimately wins. Whereas I think if you can replace that then with En-Nesyri, who plays fairly similar, because of his frame, because he looks quite slight, he is likely to win those ones that Antonio wouldn't, which again will take pressure off and allow us to kind of break up games and start again and kind of reset. So I think it's right. And just last point, bringing this on like Kudus again, it's the athleticism it brings, the pace it brings, it, like him in Ben Rama's positions today. I think he might have scored one of Ben Rama's chances if he'd managed to done the mazy run as he did, because he's got that pace and low center of gravity and a ferocious shot. He probably would have buried one, because I think he's got more of a natural instinct in front of goal. But
I think to sum it up as well, just to go back to that comment about it being painful to watch at times, it was, but that's because we're West Ham. We've been in that position before. It is, we've drawn those games. We've been 3-0 up and we've drawn 3-3, or we've lost 4-3. We all know what it's like to be a West Ham fan and a West Ham supporter in these positions. And I think, I'm one of the most critical people of him, but you really have to doff your cap to Moyes and say he got it right today. And his game plan is exactly what broke Brighton down, because we essentially bullied them. We made them look silly as well at times, that Mitoma in particular throwing himself down on the ground. And we went there.
It was desperation football at times, wasn't it, for him, in terms of, let's just throw myself down in the box and hope for a penalty or hope for a foul on the edge.
Like 4 times.
Yeah. I mean, I didn't feel like at any point we were going to drop points. And that says something. I felt we were so sort of resolute.
I did when they scored.
but that's because we're West Ham, isn't it? It's because we've all been there before. But this time,
flashbacks to the season after lockdown, where every time we went 3-0 up, we actually got more nervous being 3-0 up.
Because we never won any of those games by more than 3-2.
Exactly. But I go back to that key element of the midfield, and having that central defensive mid who can now just sit back, marshal the defence, and also just throw himself at stuff.
I think it also highlighted why me and you, Sloth, were so adamant that an Alvarez comes in over Souček, no matter what the narrative was, where he's Moyes' favourite. It's just like, I don't think people necessarily, and it's not having to go at people, that necessarily understood just how influential Alvarez can be and how good he was from that defensive screen point of view. That while Souček can be phenomenally good defending our 18-yard area, he sometimes doesn't have that ability to then do the other cute things with the ball, which Alvarez does. And I think Alvarez, his defending wasn't necessarily as noticeable because he's not jumping into every header as such, and doesn't necessarily look like he's constantly doing a lot of marathon man running. But he's so economical in the way he just kind of manages that vertical line. It's just brilliant in that game.
Well, yeah. I mean, there were a lot of good performances today. So that kind of segues into this section, which is obviously picking the man of the match. Let's hear your comments as well as we're kind of talking about this, and we'll pick out your man of the match choices as well. But yeah, I'll start with you, Sloth. Who was your man of the match from today? Because there were definitely a few candidates on display.
There were quite a few. I'm going to go Areola, just because I think there were some saves in there that I think really changed the course of the game. As I said, the one just at the start of the second half, where he gets down really low to it from the header. I thought that's what really kind of gave us the impetus and made us go out and get that second. Because if we conceded there, who knows what would have happened. I think he really deserves a lot of praise for his performance today.
Yeah, I would agree. I think, back-to-back performances like that, it's the reason why we wanted him to start, and it's he's definitely paying back that kind of trust from us, want him to be between the sticks. But yeah, I thought he was superb today, and he made a couple of really, really good saves in the second half, especially late on. So yeah, it's just nice to have him in between the sticks. But Mike, are you any different, or are you the same as Sloth?
I personally think Areola as well. The particular saves, the one off the volley, reminded me a lot of the save he did against En-Nesyri in the Europa League game. It's just that just reaction of, I just need to throw my hand up and get a real firm hand to it. and didn't even, and not in that, it was such a good hand, and the way he saved it, that it was pushed into play but out of danger, and where a West Ham player could then, kind of move the ball on. It didn't go out as well. So for me, he was the absolute standout. Special mention to Ward Prowse, Antonio, Alvarez. I thought Emi was brilliant at fullback.
He was.
Super had a very good game. You could probably go through the whole 11 and give reasons as to why they would potentially have a man in the match kind of performance. Probably the quietest player was Ben Rama until the second half, where he had some fantastic moments. But yeah, I'm with Sloth in that if Areola wasn't playing, I think one or two of those would have gone in, and I don't think we'd be talking about the curse being over.
Yeah, no. It's very difficult for me to argue against it. I'm on another day, I would give Areola man of the match easily. Danny Boy loving it. He was there. Get in. He's still buzzing from that. Yeah, have a safe journey home. But yeah, I think Areola deserves it. But on the basis, I would personally give it to Antonio, just because of what he did for us, especially in the first half. He was instrumental to our first goal. Obviously, got a really nice third goal, and he was just really, really good today, especially playing up top by himself with not much support at times, a lot of the time. And yeah, I think he ran the channels really well, and he worked very hard, and, he got his reward with the goal. Should have got the second goal. And I think if he did, I think he probably would have edged man of the match for more people. But yeah, I completely agree with you guys with Areola's shout. So we'll give it to Areola for a second week running. And yeah, it was a really good performance. 3-1 win. Top of the league. We go into next week. But this time next week, the transfer window will be shut. We would have just played Luton the day before. So a lot can change in a week. Hopefully we continue with the positives. And lads, one thing I want to ask you, because I asked, I don't know if you were on there, Mike. I think you were, when I asked you guys out of 10, how you feeling going into the season? Me, I think I was at a 5. I think Sloth, you were a similar. Has that changed now with the new signings?
Positive, didn't I? I think it was slightly positive.
I think it was 5.5. Sorry. But yeah, are you still feeling that way, or are you a little bit more positive now with the new signings and the start we've made to the season?
I would say I'm still middle of the road. I'll still be a 5 at the moment, because I want to see how the window ends. And like I've said before, I like to kind of review after 10 games, because I think that's a good barometer of where you are. Yeah. I stay a 5 at the minute, because I still think there's work to be done. If we can get in a couple of key positions, then I think obviously that can start to move up. And I'd like to see us just to be a bit more progressive on the ball, because the last 2 games are not good for the heart, right? So it's just not good. And it's not fair on the missus for me to come home buzzing because I've had a game where I've just constantly been on edge and then go, oh, okay, yeah, I'll try and look after the newborn. So he's looking after the newborn and me on edge after those games. I don't think that's fair. So I would like to have a little bit more calm games where we're a bit better on the ball. But
you should probably support someone else then, Mike, because
yeah,
you're not getting that.
Yeah. But there's reasons to be positive going forward. I still want to say 5 until the window closes, and then maybe we played that Luton game before I kind of can go, yeah, look, I'm a 7 or an 8, what have you. But I think, I just need another week to see where we are, and hopefully see us being a little bit more open than what we have been in the last 2, because it's very hard, I think, to judge us on the last 2 games.
Sure. Sloth, how are you feeling? You gone up, or you staying where you were, 5 and 5.5?
Mr. Average. I think I'm going to be... No, do you know what? I'm going to be a bit more. I think I'm going to be a 7. Just because I think the additions we've made are really smart, especially in Kudus and Mavropanos. I think they are just really, really smart, but also athletic signings, that they're quick players and they will add a lot to the side.
What we needed, isn't it? Pace.
Exactly. And for me, I think that was one thing that I've constantly been calling for. And the signings we have made, like Alvarez, again, it's added really well. I do think there's work to be done. So I'm not going to be super positive, but going into coming off the back of a London derby win, and then, finally ending the Brighton curse, I think it is reasons to be positive. It's potentially a start to a good season. I do just think that now we need to use this momentum as a club. We need to take the fact that we've won this Conference League and push forward and think about taking that next step forward. And hopefully, I've got a little bit of confidence that we will, sign a few more quality players. If we can get someone like an Ekatike in or En-Nesyri, I think those are huge additions. I do worry slightly about AFCON. However, I think it's a bit too early to be worried about that now.
I think Sloth makes a great point as well, though. It's that use this momentum. And I think we were struggling for momentum in the market at the start of the window because of how badly our Premier League season went last year. And the fact that it started well, we brought in some good players, obviously got the trophy, we're in Europa League. So I think actually that does gain a bit of momentum with players now. Because even if you're arguably going to a player, say like Fofana, for instance, and he's going, well, am I going to play in your top three? Maybe not now. However, look how well we're doing in this season. And I expect us to go into the latter stages across, we've been 4 competitions. I expect to go into the latter stages of all 4 competitions. Obviously, Premier League is obviously you've got 38 games, whatever. But in the 3 cup competitions, I expect to go quite far. Therefore, there's lots of opportunity for you to play in those games as well as force your way into the first 11. I think that's a great thing for us to do. And, the fact we've been linked back to Sangare, Fofana, shows that another midfielder is probably what we want. And it also shows, look at the level of quality we're looking to go for. And that's potentially going to be in our second string element of midfield, which is going to add so much competition for those ones deemed as the first team. And I think that's what you need, right? You need to have that diversity. You need to have that level of depth, and using the momentum of the cup as our start of the year to kind of say, look, last season was a blip. This year, we feel like we can do something special because of arguably Declan Rice leaving has enabled us to come out of that shadow and to be a bigger club for it. And I think that is how we are positioning ourselves. So, I think there is loads of opportunity to be positive. I'm just trying to keep grounded with what I'm saying 5 at the moment.
No, for sure. I think momentum's key, very, very much key. And I think Thursday night the transfer window shuts, and we play Luton on the Friday night. So, like you mentioned, a lot can change in a week. So it's important to stay grounded with what we're doing. It's been a good start with 7 points from 3 games in the league with the fixtures that we had is a fantastic start. And I really like that we've set off on the right foot, because it's really frustrating when you start the season, go 3 or 4 games, picking up maybe 1 point out of 4, maybe even 0 in some cases that we have done. And you start to worry already, you start to get that kind of negative feeling or that mindset that you're not really going to be competing towards the top, but we've put ourselves right at the top. So
club. But they're signing your favourite, mate. They're signing Beto.
But I mean, we'll see what happens. Hopefully there'll be a couple more movements before the end of the window. Kudus should be the next one in, and like you mentioned, Mike, there'll probably be a couple more coming in before the end of the transfer window as well. So an excellent win today, an excellent start to the season with 7 points, and hopefully we can make another 3 points against Luton and keep up the title race with Manchester City this year, as we know is going to be the case. But that's going to be it for the review. Thank you all for joining the live stream. Make sure to leave a like on the video, subscribe to the YouTube channel, and lads, until next time, there's one thing left to say, and that is,
come on, you mighty Irons.
You Irons.